Drew Scott from Property Brothers disappeared from TV for over a year, and fans had no idea what was happening. In 2019, something started attacking his body from the inside. Doctors ran test after test, searching for lupus, checking for neurological diseases, but nothing made sense. His mind went foggy. His body couldn't handle heat. He lost the energy to stand on set. And the scariest part? No one knew what was killing him. By the time they finally found the answer, the damage was already done. Today, we're uncovering the hidden illness that almost ended his career, and the painful truth he kept from millions of viewers. Drew Scott's birth story begins in a room where everyone thought the hard part was over. It was April 28, 1978, in Vancouver, and Joanne Scott had just delivered Jonathan. The doctor walked out, ready to move on with his day, and Joanne let herself breathe for the first time in hours. Then a nurse leaned forward with a strange look and whispered that she felt another heartbeat. Joanne's mind froze. She later joked that her first words were something she could not repeat in polite company. But Drew remembered her shouting, "Oh, shh," in disbelief. 4 minutes after Jonathan arrived, Drew slipped into the world. There had been no hint of twins because in 1978 ultrasounds were rare unless something seemed wrong, and the boys' heartbeats had lined up so perfectly that even trained ears missed it. For the Scotts, the surprise was not just big, it was life-changing. 2 sons instead of 1, 2 futures unfolding at once. As the shock faded, their family life took shape on a quiet horse farm in Maple Ridge. Jim and Joanne had come from Scotland and built their home with their own hands. The land was rough and the chores endless, but the boys learned to love that rhythm. There were mornings when the cold nipped through their jackets while they hauled feed across the yard. There were afternoons when they raced horses across open fields, feeling like the world stretched out forever. Joanne joined them in karate lessons and pushed them to stay disciplined. Their parents kept them on a tight but loving path, teaching them to save money, fix what broke, and keep going even when things were hard. That ranch life carved resilience into them before they even knew what the word meant. It taught them how to work, how to try, and how to stand back up. By the time they were 7, Drew and Jonathan wanted to create something of their own. That spark led to Jam Enterprises, a tiny business with a name built from John, Andrew, and Mom. They wrapped hangers in soft nylon, added little rose decorations, and carried them house to house, selling them with shy smiles and big hope. Their pitch was simple, but their effort was not. Sometimes doors slammed. Sometimes people bought 5 at once. Then a wholesaler placed a huge order, the kind that made their eyes widen. The boys earned close to $15,000, a number that felt magical in the 1980s. Joanne guided them through invoices and deliveries, turning their small craft into a real lesson in business. That first success showed them that money could grow from hard work, and that teamwork mattered more than talent. Not long after that, their world took an odd and colorful turn. At 8 years old, they became child clowns. Drew became Curly, and Jonathan became Dimples. It sounded silly, and it was. But those gigs paid up to $100 an hour. They performed at parades and birthday parties, covered in paint and balancing props while children laughed around them. Drew liked the rush of it, the feeling of holding a room's attention. He also liked buying candy for friends with the money they made. Yet the makeup, the costumes, and the long setups wore them down. Eventually, they stepped away. But those moments nudged Drew toward performing. They taught him how to read a crowd and how to keep people watching, something that would help him far more than he realized. Their childhood rolled forward with structure and tough love. Jim believed in work at any age. and insisted they get jobs as soon as they could. It did not matter if they were selling hangers, clowning, or taking care of the ranch. The goal was to build character. Creativity was encouraged, but responsibility came first. Every chore, every early morning, every small business attempt layered new strength into them. Later on, when people asked how they managed to juggle real estate, acting, and television, the twins always pointed back to their parents. Everything good started there. While Jonathan leaned toward construction and magic tricks, Drew dreamed of basketball. By high school, he practiced 4 to 5 hours a day, pushing himself until he earned a 43-inch vertical jump. It was the kind of number that made coaches pause. He made the University of Calgary team, but an injury stopped him before he played even one official game. Then in 2003, when he was 25, another college offered him a spot. At first it felt exciting, but quickly he realized the recruits around him were younger and moving faster. He walked away from the sport, feeling the ache of a dream closing behind him. That moment hurt, but it pushed him somewhere new. Real estate waited on the other side of that decision, even though he did not see it clearly at the time. At 18, while entering university, the twins bought their first property. Most students could barely pay rent, but Drew and Jonathan found a $200,000 fixer with a vendor take-back mortgage that required only a $250 down payment. They renovated it, sublet rooms for $800 each, lived rent-free, and sold the house a year later with a $50,000 profit. The process felt risky and thrilling. That flip became their entry into a world that would later define them. They kept going, flipping dozens of homes over the next 15 years, building experience one wall and one decision at a time. Drew kept juggling side jobs to survive: flight attendant, personal trainer, website designer, mall security, busboy, even manager at a bikini store. Nothing stuck for long, but every job taught him something about people and pressure. Even with all that work, stability felt far away. He needed more control, especially when realtors kept costing them money through bad deals. So in 2004, after losing thousands to poor representation, Drew decided he had had enough. He got his real estate license so he could protect every dollar they earned. With both brothers licensed, they handled everything themselves. That choice set the stage for their empire. Later that same year, they launched Scott Real Estate Inc. It was a complete system under one roof. Drew found and negotiated properties. Jonathan designed, renovated, and staged them. They opened offices in Vancouver, Calgary, and Las Vegas, taking on up to 10 renovations at once. They became millionaires long before television ever called their names. Still, Drew held on to his acting dreams. His early acting career was full of small sparks, but no flames. He appeared in Breaker High in 1997 and Smallville in 2001, usually as background characters or uncredited extras. Even as a kid, he had performed as a clown, but nothing ever pulled him into the spotlight the way he hoped. Rejection piled up. He tried again and again through the late 1990s and early 2000s, but Hollywood did not open its doors. In 2002, he and his brothers started Davidian Production Group, hoping to build their own projects. But funds were tight, and distributors kept turning them away. They kept the company alive only because real estate covered the bills. By 2010, they shifted toward digital and TV, but those early years tasted like constant struggle. By 2006, Drew hit burnout. He moved to Vancouver to chase acting full-time for 1 year. He slept at a friend's place, filmed auditions in his car, and pushed himself until exhaustion crept into his bones. Rejection after rejection wore him down. Eventually, he realized that acting alone was not enough. Something had to blend his talents and experience in a way that felt natural. That blend arrived when the brothers pitched their show idea. At first, HGTV loved Jonathan's construction skills, but barely noticed Drew. They even discussed centering the show entirely around Jonathan. Drew felt the sting of being overlooked again. After years of wanting a place in front of the camera, he feared losing his chance. He fought for his spot and convinced them that the show needed both brothers. That argument shaped everything that came next. Signing the HGTV deal was a leap into unknown territory. They already had a successful business. TV was a gamble with no safety net. Their pay was low. The commitment was heavy. If the show failed, they would lose valuable time they could have spent flipping properties. But they trusted the vision. In 2011, Property Brothers premiered. The moment the show took off, they finally understood what all those years of effort had prepared them for. Drew Scott became the face of Property Brothers in 2011, and everything changed almost overnight. The show launched quietly at first, but the moment those early episodes aired, more than 1.5 million people tuned in each week. Families watched him convince nervous homeowners to take chances on houses that looked hopeless. His smile made it look easy, but the truth ran deeper. He had already spent 15 years in real estate, working deal after deal until negotiation felt as natural as breathing. And because of that, the cameras only captured what he had already lived for years. The first episodes were filmed in Vancouver, and the rhythm was intense. Within 2 years, the brand had spread into spin-offs, products, and national press. Awards followed. Their names became familiar in homes far from Canada, and Drew felt the wave pushing his life in directions he had not imagined. That success rested on something real. Long before anyone knew the show existed, Drew and Jonathan ran Scott Real Estate Inc. They had been working with real clients since 2004 and flipping homes with tight budgets long before any producer pointed a camera at them. The renovations you saw on television often squeezed into 3-week windows because the brothers were doing it for real. During the first season, they filmed 5 homes in 4 months. Sometimes the days stretched to 16 hours and still felt too short. Homeowners came with hopes and fears. Budgets broke. Walls hid things no one expected. And the crew scrambled between reused sets and quick location swaps just to keep the schedule alive. Drew worked in the middle of it all, switching from host to negotiator to decision-maker so often that the roles blended together. As the show grew, new ideas kept appearing. By 2013, buying and selling arrived. Soon after came Brother vs. Brother, and later, Forever Home. By 2019, the franchise held more than 14 seasons and several side series. Drew felt the pull of a brand becoming bigger than the show that started it. In 2015, they launched Scott Living and hoped for steady growth. But instead, the line reached $100 million in revenue within 2 years and aimed to double by 2017. They released books. They signed licensing deals. Their designs moved into furniture, kitchenware, and whole home collections. Drew stepped into boardrooms and helped shape every deal because the brand carried his name and his promise. He also stepped behind the camera. Scott Brothers Entertainment became his second home, a place where he shifted between creator and executive. By 2024, the company had produced more than 20 original series, digital projects, and branded films for platforms like HGTV, Netflix, and Amazon. Drew reviewed budgets, sat with creative teams, and built partnerships with companies that wanted access to the Property Brothers magic. Some days he filmed in one city, flew out for a meeting that same night, and arrived at an editing room the next morning. There were months he logged more than 20,000 miles while still appearing on screen like nothing was happening behind the scenes. But the pace began carving into him. Years of travel, filming, and constant pressure caught up in ways he did not expect. By 2025, he felt bone-deep exhaustion that no sleep could fix. His body ached. Heat from studio lights made him dizzy. Some days, he could not stand for long without feeling his legs give out. Doctors later told him he was dealing with possible mercury poisoning along with chronic fatigue syndrome. The symptoms had been growing quietly for months, hidden behind smiles and scheduled appearances. Fans only saw small absences and quick statements. They did not see the days he could barely move, or the moments he questioned whether he could keep going. When he finally spoke about it, people were shocked. It became clear that success had come with a heavy price. Long before the fame and the business expansion, something softer had started shaping his life. In 2010, during Toronto Fashion Week, Drew met Linda Phan. The room buzzed with music and bright lights, but she stood out with her playful costume as the fashion police, handing mock tickets to anyone with a questionable outfit. Drew laughed. She laughed. Soon they stepped out for sushi, then hot cocoa, then karaoke until sunrise. That first date had no talk of renovations or television. It was two people singing, joking, and learning each other's rhythm. Drew later said he believed in love at first sight. But what stayed with him was Linda's warmth and the steadiness behind her smile. Their connection grew slowly, and then all at once. Later, when she became creative director at Scott Brothers Entertainment, their lives merged even more. Their wedding came a few years later in Italy on May 12, 2018. Puglia's hills looked soft under the sun as more than 300 guests arrived. The ceremony felt dreamy, but the path to that day was anything but calm. They had only 3 months to plan everything. Vendors needed decisions. Families needed guidance. Drew needed to rehearse an elaborate first dance with Emma Slater, his partner from Dancing with the Stars. They worked with a designer named Vincenzo, who brought their mixed Scottish and Vietnamese heritage into the floral details. They filmed the entire celebration for a TLC special, adding another layer of pressure. In the middle of it all, they still held hands and reminded each other why the chaos mattered. When the day finally arrived, it truly looked like a fairy tale. A year before that, they had opened their home to viewers. Property Brothers at Home followed them as they renovated a $2.3 million 1921 English-style house in Hancock Park. It was a 12-week sprint filled with old house restrictions, tricky basement work, and an approaching deadline for a family reunion. Drew pushed through design decisions and unexpected challenges. Linda added touches of old Hollywood glam and Art Deco warmth. The cameras rolled while they balanced meetings, filming schedules, and wedding planning. The show gave fans a close look at their teamwork. Behind the scenes, it was messy and tiring, but it also showed how much they leaned on each other. Life kept getting fuller. Linda often said that balancing home and work was her greatest challenge. She managed creative projects while preparing for motherhood. Drew fought through health issues while supporting her. When they welcomed their son, Parker James, in May 2022, it felt like a miracle. They had spent 2 years trying, moving through IVF and IUI treatments, carrying both hope and heartbreak along the way. The day Parker arrived, on their 4th wedding anniversary, everything felt brighter. 2 years later, their daughter, Piper Ray, joined the family in May 2024. Linda's second pregnancy was difficult. She dealt with swelling and exhaustion and leaned heavily on Drew. He canceled travel, slowed down filming, and focused on caring for her. Their home grew louder and softer at the same time, filled with diapers, laughter, and long nights. Drew often joked that Parker would replace Jonathan in the family business one day. These two little lives changed their pace, even if the world around them kept moving fast. And then came the lawsuit that shook their image. In 2019, newlyweds Mindy and Paul King from Las Vegas appeared in an episode called Gambles and Jackpots. They spent nearly $200,000 for a full renovation done by the show's team. After filming, they claimed their home was filled with problems. They pointed to electrical wiring that worried them, doors that would not close cleanly, appliances scratched by stray grout, and almost 90 listed issues overall. They filed a lawsuit in 2021 against Cineflix and Villa Construction. The Nevada State Contractors Board reviewed the claims and confirmed 10 deficiencies, estimating repairs at $94,672. The Kings felt ignored and said no one answered them after filming ended. Even though Drew and Jonathan were not named in the suit, the public still tied the brothers to the problems. Headlines repeated their names. Fans questioned whether the show delivered what it promised. The story spread online. People who had never watched the episode began calling it a fight between ordinary homeowners and a massive TV machine. The Kings said they felt tricked and abandoned. They showed photos of warped cabinets, peeling paint, and exposed wires. They said they had spent more money fixing things after cameras left. Their complaints inspired others who had appeared on home renovation shows to share their own frustrations. Forums filled with stories. Articles questioned how reality TV handled quality control. The Kings became a symbol of something larger, and the damage to the brothers' reputation lingered. Even though they were not personally responsible, the show had their faces and voices all over it. Viewers saw the brand before they saw the production company. Media outlets used their images in every story. Critics questioned the reliability of on-screen transformations. Drew and Jonathan released statements distancing themselves from the claims, but the shadow stayed for a while. The whole situation reminded them that fame works both ways. It lifts you quickly, and it tests you just as fast. Drew Scott's health started slipping in a way that felt strange even to him. It was around 2019 when fans first noticed he was not showing up on screens the way he used to. At first, it seemed like the kind of flu everyone gets, but the symptoms kept stacking up. He felt tired all the time, so tired that even simple tasks felt heavy. His mind felt slow and cloudy. His stomach hurt often, and heat made everything worse. Days rolled into weeks, then months, and instead of getting better, he felt his body slipping further away from normal. He went from doctor to doctor, hoping someone would connect the dots. Some looked for autoimmune diseases like lupus. Others thought it might be a rare neurological issue. Nothing matched neatly, and the uncertainty scared him. Finally, after months of confusion, he learned the truth. He had mercury poisoning mixed with chronic fatigue syndrome. It explained the exhaustion, the fog, the strange waves of weakness and pain. The mercury came from an unknown exposure, maybe something he ate, maybe something in his environment. Whatever the source was, the damage was real, and it hit him harder than he expected. As the symptoms piled up, he had to slow down, then slow down even more. Soon, he stepped back from filming Property Brothers and other projects completely. He took more than a year away from sets and work trips. Jonathan continued on several jobs alone while Drew focused on treatment and rest. This sudden silence in a life that used to be loud and busy felt unsettling, yet he needed it to heal. He kept fans updated on social media, posting about good days and bad ones, and how hard it was to live with something no one could see. He also shared how much emotional weight comes with an illness that keeps shifting from day to day. When he finally returned in 2020, he moved differently. He chose his projects more carefully. He stayed closer to home. Recovery taught him that health cannot be pushed aside, not even for work he loves. Throughout that long stretch, he kept using Instagram and YouTube to explain what was happening. He talked about the frustration of hearing one diagnosis after another that never quite fit. He spoke about the fear that grows when your body changes in ways you cannot control. Most of all, he admitted how much the mental strain hurt. Trying to stay hopeful, trying to manage stress, trying to keep faith that eventually something would improve. He leaned on Jonathan often and felt grateful that his brother understood what silence meant when words were too tiring. His honesty drew thousands of fans closer. People saw a different side of him, a vulnerable one, and they shared their own stories with him. For many, he became proof that you can face something invisible and still keep moving forward. Then, in November 2024, something unsettling happened. A series of YouTube videos suddenly claimed that Drew Scott had died in a car crash in Ontario. One video called "Heartbreaking Tragedy of Drew Scott," and his wife Linda described a fake accident at 3 in the morning on November 19th. It said he crashed into a truck, was trapped, unconscious, and did not survive. The creators even added a closed casket and crying women to make it look real. At the bottom of the video, they quietly wrote that the visuals and voices were edited or synthetic. Still, the video pulled in more than 16,000 views and caused real panic. The channel behind it, known for spreading false celebrity death news, even claimed Jonathan had made a public statement. None of it was true. No official source confirmed it. A few days later, Drew posted on Instagram, smiling at a Lakers game, clearing everything instantly. He was alive and well. The fake news spread fast before that, though. Fans rushed onto Facebook, YouTube comments, and message boards asking if he was gone. Some believed every word because the thumbnails looked emotional and convincing. News sites like Meow and Sportskita hurried to explain that the story was false, and no one from Drew's family or HGTV said anything about a tragedy. Many fans expressed real sorrow before learning it was all staged. Drew's posts helped settle the fear. His simple presence online was enough to push the lie away. Still, the hoax left a mark. Many noticed how easy it had become for online creators to twist truth into something dramatic for views. Some even admitted that their videos blended facts and fiction on purpose to earn more clicks. They used altered audio, synthetic faces, and storylines that sounded believable but were entirely made up. The Drew Scott hoax became a clear example of how these tactics can stir panic, profit off grief, and slowly weaken people's trust in real news. As all this noise faded, Drew's life started shifting into a calmer rhythm. After the original Property Brothers format ended in 2019, he turned towards smaller and more heartfelt projects. Property Brothers Forever Home arrived that same year. Instead of racing through dozens of houses per season, Season 1 had only 8 homes. This slower pace let the brothers connect more with families and dig deeper into each story. One home in Richmond, bought for $500,000 in 2015, was renovated and later sold for $989,000 in 2018. The project felt meaningful. It guided Drew into a space where work had heart and room to breathe. Behind the scenes, he took on even more responsibility. As co-founder and executive producer of Scott Brothers Entertainment, he oversaw almost 75 new episodes across 6 projects in 2021. Their shows ran on HGTV and Discovery Plus and reached viewers in more than 160 countries. He helped expand the company into lifestyle content, digital series, and documentaries. He did not always appear on camera. Many days he worked quietly on development, guiding ideas and shaping projects from the background. Beyond television, Drew and Jonathan also built a strong business presence. Their home goods brand, Scott Living, launched in 2015. By the end of 2016, their outdoor furniture on QVC had brought in more than $100 million in revenue. They created Dream Homes, a luxury design division for high-budget custom builds. Their first book, Dream Home, came out in April 2016 and entered the New York Times list at number 9. Their memoir, It Takes Two, arrived in September 2017. They partnered with Target on school library makeovers and also worked with major retailers on exclusive product lines. These ventures allowed Drew to step back from constant filming without stepping away from success. All while this grew, Drew stayed active in philanthropy. He and Jonathan supported Habitat for Humanity for years. In 2017, they were named Habitat Humanitarians, the group's highest honor. They helped raise walls for new homes in Nashville in April 2018 and supported programs focused on pediatric cancer research through St. Baldrick's Foundation. They joined efforts in Haiti with Artists for Peace and Justice to help build schools and support medical care. Their outreach touched thousands of people and showed how much good could come from using fame with purpose. By late 2025, Drew began choosing an even quieter path. He appeared less often, not because he was fading, but because he wanted to secure his health and protect the life he was building with his family. After a 2-year fertility journey that included IUI and IVF, he and Linda welcomed their first child on May 4, 2022, and their second on June 5, 2024. Fatherhood changed him. It slowed his pace. It reminded him that time moves quickly when children are small and that work can wait. He trimmed his filming schedule and kept more days open so he would not miss milestones. He said he wanted to be present, fully present, for the family he waited so long to have.